Here we are again, and this is WrestleDX Plus Alpha. We're here to talk gaming, we're here to talk wrestling, we're fans of both, and we love both, and we're sure you are as well. So today we got an action-packed show. We're following up really on what has been, how long has it been since we did the last show? Because what we did intentionally, we recorded some shows ahead of time, because the Christmas period and all the big boom stuff that was going off, and the way that life gets in the way. So we recorded some stuff, as I'm sure you've been watching and entertaining yourselves with. So we're kind of coming back with a bit of a flashback of some of the events that's gone over the last few weeks, and of course, I guess the big shining topic of the weekend is New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom 13, which was fucking awesome. Kev, what was your thoughts, man? Wrestle Kingdom 13, was it better than last year's? I guess is the most frequent question I keep hearing.
You know, I'm not quite sure that it was better than last year's. There was like the opener, which was awesome, and then there was some stuff that happened, and then there was the two main events.
Yeah.
That's how I felt.
I did actually really enjoy the Tomohiro Ishii and Zack Sabre Jr. match. I was seeing a guy who was really, really light and thin versus the guy who's just thick and muscly and bulky. I wanted to see how that would play out, and I quite enjoyed that match. And to see a British heavyweight title on a Japan Super Show was awesome.
The thing that I think hurt that match is the fact that it was the same match we saw last year, though.
Yeah, it did feel... Them two guys have clearly worked together so many times, it now feels the matches are pretty similar.
Yeah, this is also what I was referring to the other day when it came down to Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy. They are awesome. They are just awesome, and I love seeing their stuff. But I can also replay one of their old matches and see what they're going to do in the next one.
Yeah, I guess that when you pair together for a while, that is how it is. You effectively replay the same match, but you might do something a little bit different just to mix it up a bit. So you have got to...
and it gets to the point where like you can't mix the different in so much anymore.
Yeah, you're right. So anything that really stands out on that show, man, I guess the main event, it speaks for itself. Kenny Omega and Tanahashi. I've spent the entire week, when I've played 2K19 this week, I've been pretty much choosing Tanahashi and enjoying my matches. Although when you play online, it's kind of predictable you're going to use the Frog Splash, which is quite annoying. But it's been a lot of fun. Is there any match you really wanted to talk about that stood out as being better or worse than you expected it to be?
No, not really. I mean, I was surprised that the Kushida junior heavyweight title match was quite short. I think it only went about 12 minutes. Which I thought for this show was a little bit short.
Yeah, there was a lot of matches that it almost felt like I don't know why they did it. So the three-way tag team title match, which was Tonga Loa and Tamatonga, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Evelyn Sonada, which Evelyn Sonada went over. I just thought the match, again, a bit like you were saying earlier, how it felt very familiar. Nothing really stood out, nothing really spectacular from all those teams who really are spectacular guys, but the match felt a bit dialed in by all of them. And I guess if you look at the card itself, every member of the Elite, every member was all booked to lose.
Yeah, I think that hurt it. I think that they were all... It's obvious they're leaving.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it. So it was a case of like, we are just crossing the T's and dotting the I's.
Yeah.
We know they're going.
And I'm not even sure if Marty Skrull's sticking around in New Japan. So he's obviously he's the ROH talent, really. So I'm not quite sure how he fits in with that whole thing now, because he hasn't signed with All Elite Wrestling as yet.
No, it depends on when his contract expands and with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like September time or something, but so that gives him time. But actually, that gives him time to develop his little faction that he has going on, the Villain Enterprises, and expand upon that. I think it'd be quite interesting to have him, bring a faction, up. And I guess he may now be the most over guy who was formerly a member of the Elite. So I guess he brings a bit of stature into it in his little group.
Yeah, and if he decides to leave and the rest of his group stay, at least they've got the rub.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So looking at the other titles that were on that show, I quite enjoyed Juice Robinson, Cody Rhodes. I thought that match was pretty decent. Out of all the others, Tajiri Ishimori and Kushida. Kushida looks like he's on his way to NXT. Ishimori looks as ripped as ever. But did you see his sliding German suplex? That was just... did love that.
Which was hilarious because I just watched Homecoming from Impact Wrestling and Johnny Impact did the exact same move.
Oh, really? I didn't know. That's cool. I didn't know that.
He did it on Cage.
Jay White...
Which is even more impressive.
Yeah, he's a huge guy. Huge guy.
That guy's an action figure.
He looks...
What's that?
He is an action figure. He's a walking action figure.
Yeah, as my missus called him, he looks like a muscular cloud.
Okada and Jay White. I expected that Okada would lose. And Jay White would go over really strong. So he's got something to chase over the course of the next few months. But I really enjoyed the match, actually. I thought it came off really well. I think both guys came across really strong. Jay White cemented his position as a heel who had style. Okada, going back to his Rainmaker gimmick again, he's clearly lost himself for a little bit with his red hair and his red trunks carrying some balloons that never really made much sense. And he's back to being the Rainmaker again now. But that wasn't enough to get the job done, so I think he might, over the course of the next month, the way that Japan Wrestling is, they tend to debut something, so a new move, or they'll do like an avalanche version, so he'll do a move off the top rope with it. So it'd be interesting to see how he's eventually going to get the win over Jay White. Jericho, what did you think?
It was exactly what I expected from Jericho. I expected Jericho to lose the title. I expected it to be a brawl because Jericho wouldn't want to have another Wrestling Mac Classic on a card filled with them.
Yeah.
He's Chris Jericho. He wants to stand out. And a near 50-year-old credible, everyone's favourite wrestling dad, he still pulls it out.
Yeah. I think that you said something that was quite right. Is that he wrestled a brutal kind of different style of match compared to everyone else on the card who was wrestling, technical wizardry. This guy was just downright slugfest. He played a very different character to what he plays in America. He is this Clockwork Orange style, vicious, violent individual. He's very different. Has his makeup and his hat persona going on, and it's good to see a character who we know and love who's actually being different. He's reinvented himself to be in a different company, as opposed to being more of the same. Dude, you flashed away there.
You still there? It just went completely
I saw
dead.
that. It just flashed and came back up. But hey, it's the joys of technology. Eh?
Yeah. Right. Chris Jericho. You can say that Jericho changed himself for New Japan, and he has. But Jericho changes himself all the time. He changed himself from his his Lionheart gimmick, and then jumped into the WWE and had various differences.
Yeah.
When he decided to leave, I think it was about 2006. He said he was burnt out and that, and you could tell. I felt that by 2006, Jericho was burnt out. He had enough. He wasn't used very well, and he didn't really have a gimmick at that time. He was, I am Chris Jericho. I do wrestling, and I've got a new haircut, and that was pretty much his gimmick around about that time.
Is this when he came back with his Codebreaker gimmick?
Yeah. That was a bit weird, that one, and then he turned into the Righteous Man.
Yeah.
I am a heel with a very valid point, but despite the fact that Shawn Michaels lied and cheated, you cheer for him and boo me. Why?
Yeah.
And I that was one of the best eras of Chris Jericho ever. The whole.
Yeah, me too. That was definitely his defining WWE character, and I guess the whole thing with the book of late with putting over Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen.
Oh, the list of Jericho.
That's it. How can I forget that? Good angle. I like that.
See, that is a guy that can make anything work.
He made a list work, for God's sake.
Yeah,
Greatest gimmick in the world. And I guess,
and
Kenny Omega, perhaps is the most over guy in the world now. If you even people who don't watch New Japan know who Kenny Omega is now, and even that's interesting to hear. People are like, Kenny Omega, who's that? Has gone. It's like, oh,
yeah,
he's coming. He's going to come to WWE. Maybe he's going to debut at the Rumble, which is not going to happen. But people are talking about it now. So he's gone beyond his New Japan tenure and his DDT tenure to becoming, a worldwide superstar.
yeah, and he's the hottest thing in the world right now, and everybody wants some new him.
Yeah,
And apparently they put in what can only be described as, they put it, a fantastic offer. And I am to understand they have done everything they can to bring him in, and it is just down to whether
he'll take it.
Omega wants to sign or not.
Perhaps because the way the WWE schedule works, I guess people get confused. The fact that if you sign to WWE, you're on the road, and you're expected to do like 5 nights a week, various shows, and then do the Raw. So you're on the road constantly. So you need to from hotel to hotel. I guess for a lot of guys who travel the world, that perhaps might not be a bad thing. That might actually be a tone down of his schedule, if anything, to go just along the road with the tour.
It's difficult to say, though. I mean, the Bucks, Omega, and Cody now, their schedule is ridiculous. They're in New Japan, they're in Ring of Honor, and they pop up everywhere else as well.
They did.
And then they're doing their own thing, and then they manage to still put this whole all in together.
Yeah. Betting on themselves to, I still think All In effectively was their meal ticket to go, look what we can do. And I think that's why they went to the Khan Company for what's coming next for All Elite Wrestling. And I think they can show that they can do it. They can put, 12,000 people in an arena and people want to come and see them. And they're all indie guys. Well, I hate to use that term, but yeah.
They've done amazing things. Simply amazing.
All right, so coming up after Wrestle Kingdom 13, they have what would many call is the Raw that comes after WrestleMania. They have their New Year Dash at the Hurricane Hall, which is their let's reset and let's realign some boundaries. So we had a returning character who's been off for a while. His name just escapes me like it does every time. Who I'm looking at his name here. Is it Conor Morrow? Yeah, he's Taguchi. He's been off for a while, so he's obviously come back. But the Bullet Club now featuring Belloc Fale, Gato, and Jay White. They're 3 main crux guys. The Bullet Club taking on. They took on Yoshihashi, who was the main superstar to come back. He's obviously had a shoulder injury for a while. Okada and Tanahashi in the main event. That was good. Again, putting over Jay White again as this ruthless, vicious switchblade heel, but he needs to be, because right now I think there's a lack of focus about who New Japan's main guys are really. Apart from Jay White, Tanahashi, and Okada.
Yeah, I mean, Naito's had a bit of a rough year.
Yeah, he's always been there. He's been over, and I think the Jericho rub has just sent him into superstar level. But it's like he's never quite found what he is yet. I don't know. He's missing something to complete his character.
It's one of them things. It's just that when he's been at his hottest, they haven't pulled the trigger.
Yeah, that could be a way to put it. Yeah.
It's just sometimes. I mean, they always say that the stars align and you manage to get 2 stars, and it just everything works. Like the rise of Steve Austin, the series of misfortunate incidents, 97.
Yeah, and it throws everything out of whack.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the opposite. You are a bit of a rock. As hot as you are, as nobody can touch you except for that other guy.
Yeah.
With The Rock, it's like as great as there was always Steve Austin.
Yeah, you're right. I guess because he was at that time where he should have been the main guy, and he became that guy. But the Austin was always the draw.
Yeah, not like The Rock wasn't or anything.
No,
I mean, it was always, Austin versus The Rock, and it was money every time. And that's what you've got with Naito.
yeah, he's the
For a
money man.
guy at the minute that overshadows him, somehow it's Omega or Okada. Those two have been the top guys in New Japan for a long time, and now Omega's gone.
Yeah, Omega was gone. So did they even fight each other? Did Omega and Naito ever go at it? I guess they must have the IC title, wasn't it?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. So, man, so what else has happened in the last few weeks then? So we've got Impact Homecoming happened. I guess even as TLC happened. So do you want to talk about those while we interject our news and stuff? Would that work better? Because I guess we could look back at TLC and go, what stood out? I think you rightly were talking about Natalya and Ronda Rousey and how that match could stand up in a different way because of the things that happened within the match.
Yeah, let's just go back to TLC quick. I don't want to cover every match, but as Iron versus AJ Styles was an epic. The main event, and rightfully so, was Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka in the TLC match, which no one really could have picked who would have walked out of that. You could have made strong cases for every woman in that match.
Yeah, and that's how
it was
should be.
Epic. They beat the tar out of each other. I don't know if you saw that match.
Fuck yes.
It was colossally brutal. Each one of them women took the other two to school, whether it's being speared through things or being repeatedly beaten with kendo sticks or being thrown off that ladder, just put through tables. It was pure physicality. It was fantastic. It really, really was. And yet this was the same card that for the very first time WWE had a ladder match on the pre-show.
Yeah, that just
Bobby Lashley versus Elias in a guitar hanging above the ring ladder match. And it's awful.
Yeah. Then you had a ton of awful. R-Truth and Kameda going over Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox to be the winners of the Mixed Match Challenge, which should be great. It should be. But that makes both of them the Royal Rumble contestant number 30, which appears for the both of them to make no sense whatsoever.
Yes, and they also won a vacation of their choosing, and R-Truth, because he's a clown, chose a visit to the head office in Stamford, Connecticut, because of course you would. I have a holiday to go anywhere I want. I'm going to go to the head office.
Where I'm sure he goes actually on a very frequent basis.
I think it just gave me a migraine just now.
So, dude, you wanted to talk about this match in particular. So, Ronda Rousey, Natalya. So, why is it important?
After the ratings of Raw have bombed, there was this glimmer of light in this sea of garbage, and it was Ronda Rousey defending her title against her friend Natalya. And it was fantastic. For the very, very first time, the WWE allowed the women for a match in the ring. It's not rehearsed. They didn't run through the match. This was two very, very technical, very skilled women going at it one-on-one, and they told a story. Pulled the trigger on doing the armbar on her friend, because it's her friend. But Natalya's coming at her with everything. Absolutely everything. And it was kind of reminiscent of Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit. They went hold for hold as the mixed martial artist against the professional wrestler. And they went hold for hold. And it was sweet. It was a thing of beauty. And if you have not watched this, please now go watch this. The Christmas Eve edition of WWE Raw. It is the main event of the night. Meltzer, for a Raw that he hated, gave it a 3.75 stars,
Okay.
which I felt it deserved better. But
Well, I guess it.
I think by the time you've gone through 3 hours of garbage on Raw and you got to this main event, but skip everything else, you've missed nothing during that show. But this was wonderful.
Good. It's always weird when you see a match stand out on a card that is stale, or where it doesn't work out. But then you see something that actually really stands out, and it makes you go, "Damn, that was good. I like that. I want to see more of that." But if you have everything, unfortunately nothing stands out. And there's many times where you see a wrestle like a card or a pay-per-view, you expect to see every match being phenomenally really good. But if you go on to Raw or SmackDown or an Impact or a TV taping of ROH or whatever, every match has to be a different type of match because you're catering to an audience that is something of everything. There's your children, those who want comedy, those who want to see hard-hitting action, those who want to see big men, small men. Everyone has a different like of what they want to see. So unfortunately, not everybody likes everything. So when you see something that makes you go, "Fuck, that was good."
Don't get me wrong. It's what people need to remember is that the WWE is, it was sports entertainment. I know we hate the term, but what you need to remember is the WWE are beholden to shareholders,
yes,
to their sponsors, and they can't just appease the hardcore wrestling fans. That's why, in my heart, I really do believe that's why, for what they wanted to be, it's NXT 5.
Yeah.
But they have to appease everyone. And the thing is, they don't always do a great job. And we get this. It's hard. 3 hours. SmackDown, 2 hours. 205 Live, 1 hour. NXT, 1 hour. And then you've got all the other shows that support them.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they now? Main event. And what's the other one? Is there another one?
I think there is, isn't there? Is it Saturday Night Challenge or something like that? Is that still going? Or is it Saturday Main Event? I don't know.
Oh, they're not doing that. They haven't done that for a long time. Don't forget, you got NXT UK as well.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fucking script writing to go on when you think about it.
And that's every week.
Yeah.
That is an amazing feat. And it doesn't matter. I mean, you can watch New Japan, and they have some awesome events. But don't get me wrong. Every so often, there's still a stinker in there from time to time, or at least something that doesn't meet your expectations of New Japan.
No, it doesn't. It's also really hard when you say to someone, "You need to watch New Japan," and you show them a show, and there's that shitty match on there. Like, you need to skip that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It happens.
It does.
Every night where they're just off, or it just goes wrong. And it's no one's fault. It's like they go for a table spot and the table collapses.
Yeah, that happens.
Or, things like that. Shit happens. And there isn't anything you can do about it. It's just sometimes things don't
tables
work.
breaking. Did you see like Tanahashi take his frog splash, committed full frog splash through that table?
Oh dear God, yes.
Yeah.
I actually just remember going, oh. And in fact, speaking of table spots, is Naito getting pile drived on that table by Jericho and just left a head indentation.
Yeah.
The table didn't break.
Well, yeah, because you hear like Kevin Kelly and like Don Callis pointing out, there's a hole in that table. To her right, Renette, there's a hole. That's good. But we're talking about really Raw's 3-hour format, and looking at Raw's low ratings, I guess ties us into a bit of news here. So they've rebooted effectively their Raw, but do you think actually it's the 3 hours is what the problem is? Because Nitro.
Do you know what? Here's the thing that annoys me about this: Raw's too long. Raw's right. You go on that the WWE has all this talent and they don't showcase it. and yet you've got hours of Raw. Now, and why you're just not putting the same NXT formula and pouring it onto the main roster, but you just do it with more wrestlers in the longer time.
Yeah.
I mean, they've since their creative reboot from just around about New Year.
Yep.
They've had longer matches. They've gone, right, this is what we've been doing. Well, let's stop doing that. I mean, this week's Raw was a massive turnaround. They started it off hot. You come on to the show and you find Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley beating the tar out of each other backstage, and they're being pulled apart. And it ends up being brought out into the ring, and they're being pulled apart. And then Cena comes out later, and he's talking. And then Drew McIntyre comes out, telling him, "I'm going to come out and beat your ass because you're a world champion, and I'm not, and I'm going to prove myself on you." And while they're preparing to have a match, they're thrown down. That's it. Let's go. Come on, let's have one. Good. Bobby Lashley come out with his little hype man, and they're going on about how they're going to sue everybody because they can't get rid of Seth Rollins. And Rollins comes out again, attacks her. And then it turns into more of a brawl. Then Ambrose comes out and he attacks Seth Rollins along with Bobby Lashley. So there's 3-on-2. And then Finn Balor comes out to make the save, and and this was done over a time period of Raw. It wasn't done in like a couple of minutes. If I just for the six, we're talking 6 of WWE's current best Raw superstars in a very, very good 6-man tag.
Good. So I haven't caught it, so I'm going to catch it on the network when it pops up. But yeah, that sounds like it's an interesting setup. You know, how do you make these things coalesce? Well, you throw them all in a match to go.
I mean, they've done something else that's very interesting. They've took a page out of New Japan's playbook, and they have said that rematch clauses are redundant. We're not doing that no more. You do not get an automatic rematch if you lose a title.
Do you think
if you want another shot, you need to get back into the mix. So there's number one contender matches again. So and there you go. There's 20, 30 minutes that writes itself.
Yeah, I need to get back in the title hunt. I'm going to have a match against someone who's a good caliber, and I'm going to put on a good match and eventually be back into the hunt. Like it.
And this is how on Raw they managed to pull off Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks, and the winner goes against Ronda Rousey at the Royal Rumble.
That's simple storytelling. We like it.
Simple storytelling, yeah. It started out with a little interview segment with Alexa Bliss so she can get on TV between Ronda Rousey and Bliss. Nia Jax comes out. She's proclaiming she's going to be, she should be getting the shot. Ronda Rousey stated that she believes Sasha Banks is one of the best on Raw and she hasn't had her shot. So Banks comes out. Jax is already out. They get in each other's face. They have a throwdown. That's it. Let's go. Number one contender match. It felt a lot more off the cuff.
That's really what Raw was famous for, It's famous for the, spontaneous-esqueness of the show look. And then you got it on, as opposed to being this kind of almost soap drama that it currently has been over the last year or so in drip fed.
Yeah. It starts out and it's 20, 30 minutes of blah, 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 blah. And then it ends up in some sort of tag match either later that night or right away. And then there's some other stuff that happens that nobody cares about. And then there's some tag team stuff where it doesn't matter at all.
Throwaway matches and throwaway time,
yeah. But they're pushing guys that haven't been pushed. I mean, right now, Apollo Crews is enjoying the Revival doing quite well. They're on TV weekly at the minute. Apollo Crews is doing well. Jinder Mahal is being jobbed out like the jobber that he always was. To say that it was WWE champion just over a year ago, you'd never know it.
The thing is, he looks like a legit badass. He just fucking can't wrestle like one.
It's too busy going, Shanty. Oof.
Yeah.
What? Shut up. Get off.
Wrestle.
And to be honest, I was never into the whole thing. And it's not the race thing because he's just too wooden.
Dude, yeah.
I don't want to watch a WWE title match, which is a 20-minute chinlock.
No.
I don't know about you, but every time you had a match on the pay-per-views,
it was the match
skip
that was
to the end.
It was. How bad is that you can see a guy's ability and go, shit, skip. And
Yeah,
you don't
it's
feel like
Randy Orton had a job to him.
Dude, yeah. So talking of ring then, so we've had the McMahon family have come back on screen. I saw them. It's like a creative reboot, effectively, and it appears to be that it's working and pulling itself off. It does take time though for those ratings to come back in because you've got to reconvince people that it's worth watching because they're expecting that it's going to be that shitty show that you had put on over the last year, and that takes time to convince people. Come and watch again, you'll like it. And it's almost like saying that to people come and watch Impact again. It's worth it, and they watch it and they go, you know what? Actually, it is.
Yeah, the thing is, WWE's got a lot to lose because they've just signed this deal with Fox over with SmackDown.
Yeah.
And they want more sports-orientated programming. And they've got some turning around to do with that. But at the minute, SmackDown is outrating Raw. Has done for a few weeks now.
And now SmackDown's moving to a Friday, often known as the graveyard night, because it's in that really awkward position where everyone's out of the house. So not as many people watch live on a Friday, which is difficult for a lot of people. But it means that All Elite Wrestling are now going, oh, we'll take that Tuesday spot. And it appears they're pushing to have it.
See, I have no idea about that, and that sounds awesome.
It does, yeah.
The thing is, if they really, really want to push the envelope, but I don't think it's too early yet, if they decide to CW it and challenge Raw head to head, that would be the challenge now.
Or to put it straight up against Raw. I don't know.
Yeah.
The fans like both.
The fans like Nitro and Raw.
Yeah, somehow they both were pulling in ratings in their millions. Yeah,
because you had to see what the other one was doing, and that's one more thing I call as well with the WWE. Every year they do this. This one show that always does good ratings is after Raw or after WrestleMania or week after where they do the roster mix up thing. The roster shake up.
Yeah.
I think that is the stupidest thing.
Yeah.
Because you take 20 guys from that roster and dump them in there. You take 20 guys from that roster and dump them in there. And what's really changed?
Nothing at all. You get the occasional mixed
because
match.
but more often than not, the guys that have just been dropped into this new environment fight with the guys that just come with them.
Yeah. And it just continues.
You're watching the same matches just on the other show.
I think a match that perhaps might happen, they may switch AJ out to Raw and bring Seth to SmackDown on a Friday.
See, that'd be cool, but you've got to finally have that Seth Rollins AJ Styles match.
So there's a WrestleMania match for you down the lines, if Kenny Omega doesn't get in there first.
Oh dear God, there's still so many matches the WWE can have, and everybody be blown away. I mean, the fact that with a week's notice, we ended up with Balor versus Styles.
That's fucking awesome as well. Yeah, they need more of that.
You need that warm fuzzy feeling just here. But yeah, as you know, I have my list of first time, one time, only ever matches, and
that's one.
It's still an extensive list. It's unbelievable, the list that I have. I've got to publish that at one point so everyone can enjoy the love.
Talking of AJ and Balor, so playing through the My Player of 2K19, and of course I did my tour of Japan as my created character, and I fought against the team of Balor and AJ, who were like, oh, tonight I think we're going to be called the Club. Can we say that? That's just like, yeah, really. So yeah, I had a nice warm fuzzy feeling of that. That was good.
Yeah, they keep referring to them as the club when they teamed up with
Gallows and Anderson.
Gallows and Anderson. Yeah.
So, talking of Gallows and Anderson, do you think they will go to All Elite or back to New Japan? Because they're really quiet on the Raw thing. But
No, they're on SmackDown. They've been on SmackDown for a while, and this is the thing. Again, they've been quiet, but since the roster shake-up, not a roster shake-up, since the creative reboot, they've been on TV. A lot of guys that make you go, "Where are they? Where are they?" On TV.
Because like when we went to WWE Live, I mean, without a doubt, Gallows got the biggest pop of the night outside of AJ. It's just like, unless you'd see that, you probably wouldn't believe that, but it's true. He got the biggest pop, and the most sustained pop throughout the entire match was fans shouting for Gallows. It was crazy. But that's what between fans at home and fans on TV, I guess.
And Gallows and Anderson are hilarious as well. If you watch their road trip, the WWE road trip thing, I can't remember what it's called. And then there's what's that ridiculous wrestling program? Southpaw Wrestling or something that they really put together. If you've not seen that, people, you need to watch that. That is absolutely hilarious.
Lance Cameron. Complete throwback to the 80s wrestling. And interesting mix-up of guys as well, just doing things like completely off the cuff random. But I don't doubt people in the back have been doing for years. And we'll finally get a camera on them. And they go, let's edit this together.
I mean, like you've got the announce team of John Cena playing the straight-laced announcer, and you've got Fandango as the fading star that's doing commentary, who's constantly drunk.
Yeah, so Heath Slater and Rhino on there is, I don't know what they're called, but yeah, it's worth watching just for the sheer sake of how crazy it is.
Yeah, and if you come across the one with Gallows and Anderson on there, that is fantastic. Gallows is hilarious because apparently the Anderson character has been constantly attacking him, and every time you go back to Gallows, he's got a patch over one eye, and he's like, "I still see you," and then he comes back on, and he's got both eyes patched up, and he's like all bandaged up, and he's like, "I still see you Saturday night." Wherever the camera is.
Maybe there's an opportunity to a one-off, show of it in style as a wrestling show, and I guarantee there'll be an NXT style love for that. I think you could probably pull it off at the Full Sail Arena as well, that kind of crowd, and actually do a Southpaw show, like a super show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing. It's just ridiculous 80s style promos done with wrestlers now. Just taking the mick. It is brilliant.
I love it. So, scrolling down the news down here, of course, Hogan came back to Raw this past week, mainly to say goodbye to Mean Gene, who, of course, has now passed on to, the next generation, shall we say. Yeah. So, when was the last time you saw Mean Gene? So, when was the first time you saw Mean Gene and remembered him?
God. It's like trying to remember the very first time you saw Hogan. And in the 80s, you saw Hogan all the time. And Mean Gene was always there interviewing him. Now, let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Yeah, he was the guy. I mean, I think I must have remembered Mean Gene, I guess. But perhaps I saw him more as the guy who jumped to WCW as the interview guy in the back. And I guess perhaps he followed with Hogan. I can remember watching a Raw, and there was I think Jerry Lawler, said that, well, if Mean Gene was here, he'd say this. And then I was watching Nitro, and it's like, well, if you were here, you'd be talking to me. And I think that was that interplay. You see him off the TV when it was both live. That was fun. You don't get to see that anymore. But Mean Gene, I guess, he's a legend to himself. Was he a WWE Hall of Famer?
Yes, he was. He was inducted by Hogan.
No surprise there. So has Hogan just come back for a one-off, or is he going to be around for a bit, do you think?
See, this is the thing that I take a problem with, right? We know at the Crown Jewel, they snuck Hogan in the back door because it was the only audience that probably wouldn't have booed him out of the building at that time.
Yeah.
And still, it was a little bit tepid. It's like, yeah, it's Hogan. He that racist guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still Hogan, yeah. And to find this as the only way they could bring um, Mean Gene, sorry, the only way they could bring Hogan back into the fold of Raw was on the back of Mean Gene Okerlund's death. I mean that.
Cringy. He's the right guy to talk about it, I guess, on the screen.
I know, but it's the only way you could actually bring Hogan back in.
Yeah. To address his brother.
I know. Have you seen the promo as well?
I haven't, no, and I'm sure it's actually up on their YouTube channel, so I will have a look.
Yeah, and again, it's just so like, yay, it's Hogan.
But no.
You need that racist guy. Yeah.
Is he a racist? Who knows?
I'm not a racist. I hate all of you.
I hate everybody.
Yeah, I don't like anyone.
And I guess also, then you got Tony Storm's pictures that have been leaked. Naughty, naughty.
Yes. But Paige has offered her support. Quite a few other wrestlers have said, like, what's remembered today. I mean, plenty of people will look and then move on and forget.
Yeah.
Not that she isn't, an incredibly beautiful woman or anything. It's just that the same happened to Charlotte and Paige.
It did, yeah.
It's embarrassing at the time, but it's beyond the realm of their
yeah, because then like a video of
they
Paige get leaked with her with just a New Day, whatever it was.
Oh, allegedly it was Xavier Woods and Brad Maddox as well finish himself on the NXT Women's title because of course you would.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone was glad to get that belt. No wonder the Asuka ended up getting it changed.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we're talking about wrestling. There's so much stuff going on with wrestling. There's Raw's reboot and the WWE's reset effectively. It's not a bad thing to see a company reset every so often. To go, let's just change it up a bit. An Impact doing the same thing.
And I'll be honest with you, when it comes down to the WWE doing their creative reset, they didn't go all crazy like WCW did back in the day. And it's like, we shall now reset and we shall wipe out all of the champions and stuff. They didn't do that. They didn't need to do that. They just went, right, new challenges for people, new circumstances, new matchups, stars that you want to see, will put on TV more. So why is Jinder Mahal still on TV? I don't know. And Alicia Fox, what's that all about? But it's a step in the right direction, and the ratings had improved this week on last week's.
I still think a lot of people choose to watch like illegal streams or just catch up on YouTube because they don't have time to watch 3 hours of Raw. So,
but then why are you a fan if you haven't got time?
I don't know.
It's like being a fan of football, but I'll only bother catching the replay, so the highlights, because I ain't got time for watching a 90-minute game.
Isn't that what a lot of football fans do?
I have no idea. I'm not one.
No, me neither. But like Impact Wrestling's also going through a bit of a slow reboot. Obviously, they're Don Callis coming in, they're Scott D'Amore coming in and changing the company, new direction and so on. And now they're changing their TV network as Pop Network. Never really made much sense, but I guess it tided them over, and it's done very well for them. Because you can actually you can get Pop on PlayStation, and its TV format is a bit odd because like it mainly shows what used to be Cartoon Network shows, so it's a bit odd to have a mature rated wrestling show on there. But I guess it's tided them over. But now it's I
was to understand as well. At one point, Pop TV was actually the TV Guide channel.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that was the case. And then they changed to Pop TV, which is like you said, Cartoon Network, and then they got a little bit of wrestling on there and that. But now they're moving over to Pursuit Network, which I'm not sure what that is.
It's like all that outdoor shows, like Bear Grylls and that kind of stuff. So I guess it has a that mature kind of adventurous types. Because like it jumped a few. So about say 3 years ago, whenever when Impact was under Dixie, it ended up on one of the Discovery channels, a Destination America, which made no sense, um, where they tried to tie it in with like Ghost Adventures and some other, and they had like these crossover shows, but just made no sense whatsoever. But I guess if you have a TV network, you would want your shows to have some kind of cross pollination about them. Maybe you can't really do that with Pop, but you can do that with Pursuit. I guess you can produce programming around that as well. The guys on the road, or the kind of off documentary stuff. There's an ability to create something new within the brands. So it's probably not a bad idea at all.
No, I mean, Dom Callis has promised that there will be more edgier programming and just overall more mature subject matter. As long as they don't go too far with it. And speaking of mature things, have you heard the name Scylla Kelly?
Isn't he a rapper or some shit?
She is was a competitor in the Mae Young Classic this past year.
Right.
And she made big news in the last couple of days with a bloody tampon spot over in some.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
How this came across the spot. It was BG James. He commented about it in support of it because at least it was creative, but didn't agree with with what it was. But he said at least the spot has never been done before. To which then he got a little bit of backlash about it, and then had to apologise and delete his tweet for it. But then people were going, but actually no, we supported you having your opinion about it. You shouldn't have apologised. And then he's like, oh, where the fuck else am I supposed to do it? It was creative, but what? So yeah, the tampon spot, definitely original. I ain't seen that before.
Yeah, but if I was in a match and took a shit in my hand and wiped it in someone's face,
yeah, that's fucked up.
No one else has done that, but who wants to see that?
No.
To be honest, the whole Socko thing with Mick Foley, I always thought was a bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. It's like ramming down my throat, and I sure as fuck don't want it ramming down my throat after it's been down near his cock in a sweaty match for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's true.
And pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? I don't know why you'd do that. But
I know why, but
yeah, revenge, I guess.
Oh, did you see the footage though?
No, I couldn't bring myself to watch it.
Oh, do you want me to tell you? Did you dare?
No, I got the gist, but I didn't watch it though. I think I wasn't going to commit myself to going. I just can't do it. Go on, give me the heads up then.
Oh, she sits the opponent on a chair, on a steel chair as you'd expect, and beats her, and she's dead, that kind of stuff. And then she backs up, and then she literally puts both hands down there, and she's there for a little while, and jiggling around a bit further back, and then pulls out this bloody tampon and waves it over her head like that. Walks over to her, and then stuffs it in her mouth and holds it in there so she can't spit it out. Oh, and the thing is, there's so much outrage against it as well, which I can understand. I mean, I get the creative side of it, but then again, on the other side of it,
I mean, they must. This obviously must have been agreed between them beforehand and by the booker. What says, let's do a gross out moment. Doesn't even have to be real. Doesn't at the end of the day, it could be like in a pouch or something under and it's just tomato sauce. But the spot itself, like you said, that's pretty brutal.
There are just some things. I mean,
yeah.
They get. I mean, I'm not. Oh, I can understand comedy wrestling to a certain extent. I mean, I saw
Joey Ryan. It works.
I'm not too sold on Joey Ryan, really. Colt Cabana, when he did a couple of comedy matches, I mean, he had a really good match with, I forget the guy's name, but it was some Japanese guy in a weird pig mask. and it was ridiculous, but yet it was still a match.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was like Cabana had like knocked him off balance, and he was going, and he put his hand out for him to grab it. You know, go on, grab my hand so you don't fall. And then the guy goes to grab his hand, and he moves his hand away, and the guy falls over.
But I guess there is if you can tell a story with it, it's good.
Yeah, but a bloody tampon.
Yeah, it's certainly messed up for sure.
Wasn't a fan.
No. I mean, what else have I seen this past week? So you know the spot where they're doing like pile drivers on Lego and shit, and I saw someone in like Impact do like a double foot stomp barefoot off the top onto Lego.
Do you know what? They did the Lego spot on Raw the other
I
week.
heard this, yeah, but
And the thing is, it's even Meltzer fucking sold it on Meltzer and Alvarez, who hate Raw at the minute. They said that, you know, he poured out Lego onto the floor like it was thumbtacks. It's like, but it's Lego. Have you stood on Lego? That must have sucked. Yeah, that was it. It's Bobby Lashley taking a back bump on Lego. That must have sucked.
So what I did see today was like someone's taken that to another level, some indie company, and they used like fucking Magic the Gathering dice or something. You know, one of those that fucking like point upwards, and then did like again a backdrop onto it.
Oh, I mean, even on Impact Wrestling this past weekend, literally just a couple of days ago, Eli Drake took a massive back bump on thumbtacks from Abyss. And that guy still continued to wrestle, but like the pain on his face, you can't.
No.
I mean, there's like selling moves, and then there's actual pain.
Yeah, because they go in about fucking get off half a centimeter, and that you got to pull out afterwards. Just
Yeah. Finished that match with quite a few in him still.
I mean,
it's funny as well because it hit, and you could lip read him going, "Motherfucker."
Because the anxiety of going into that spot is gonna be fucking crazy. You bounce stuff doing your thing, and all of a sudden, shit, it's coming. Or you get hip tossed or fucking frog splashed onto it.
Yeah, I mean, when Jericho took that back bump in the Asylum match against Ambrose, one of the worst ones I ever remember was poor old Randy Orton trying to get himself over as a tough man in his rivalry with Cactus Jack at Backlash 2004, which is still one of my favorite matches ever. When he went for an RKO on Fowler, and Foley just pushed him off, and he landed back first on them thumbtacks. The pain on that man's face. Honestly, if you haven't seen that, go and watch that. It's an epic match.
So I'm also looking at the wrestling boom that we're talking about, wrestling pain. So Ring of Honor trying to not lose its position as probably the second highest rated company in America right now, because I guess Impact is still struggling to find its position again. So ROH technically sits as the second largest company in the US, and they don't want to fall back into third place. But so they've signed.
There is a lot of posturing going on right now. I mean, WWE's hoovering up talent left, right, and center.
They really are.
They're solidifying their UK contracts now. There's no you can work anywhere else, but you beckon to our call if we demand it. That's over with. WWE is ironclad. You sign with NXT UK, you are NXT UK.
Yeah, because they're now having I guess their weekly shows are going to happen now again, so they're going to be consistently recorded over here as opposed to bulk recorded, I think.
Yeah.
So you would guy or girl.
I mean, Ring of Honor's signing of Bandito was a major thing. To get Bandito signed away from WWE, away from Impact, away from New Japan, that's a coup in itself. It's impressive.
Because they've signed 3 other guys, haven't they? They got the guy from WXW who's come over. I just know I can't remember. There's a guy who's like in his 50s as well, who's like crazy fucking over. He's joined the Villain Enterprises, and
Yeah,
I guess now they're just trying to sign up as many guys as they can because, like you said, WWE are hoovering up guys not to put them over, just to make sure that their competition doesn't get them.
yeah. And this is another thing with All Elite being backed so financially well. How far will the Khan family go to sign contracts
Yeah,
from the WWE?
because I mean they're not afraid to fucking spend like £90 million on a footballer, for instance, or some $110 million for a a footballer from the US. I mean, so how much are they going to be paying for guys for wrestling?
Yeah,
If they're putting the butts in seats, man, they'll fucking get signed over.
from their own statements as well, the Khan family's statements, which you can read on No DQ and a few other places, they swear that this is not a toy venture. This is something that they take very seriously, something they are very passionate about, something they people that they are involved in with are very passionate about what they're gonna do,
Yeah, like you said, you mentioned it
and
earlier
that's
about how it feels like Ted Turner stepping back into business again. Someone who actually has a lot of interest, who's lots of different fingers in lots of different pies, has gone, I want to get back in the wrestling business, and did, and then put WCW on the map. Are we going to go through a period of time where it's a bit like that NWA WCW period where it was really awkward and didn't know what they were doing? Or are we going to go in with like a WWE style, hyper promo package? But I don't think a new company can become that straight away. I think it has to evolve.
but then again, you had All In,
Yeah, and that was spectacular. I do think,
and the only thing that got that over with the storylines going into it was being the Elite.
yeah, and it did a good job. So I guess that they're making about 200,000 views per episode on average, and you sold a 10,000 seater arena. So it can be done with just YouTube promotion, effectively. But then you had but they had obviously Ring of Honor and New Japan's backing and the Bullet Club brand, really.
We're in for a really interesting year
Yeah,
with the WWE's reboot, the WWE's contract with Fox. They got to pull SmackDown up so far because Fox expect big things. They didn't pay $1 billion, an actual billion,
yeah.
for
A
an
second-rate Raw.
alien brand.
Yeah, it's not a second-rate Raw. It's its own thing. It does its own entity, but it's owned by the big company of WWE.
Yeah, and they've paid for that, and they're going to want satisfaction, and you can't blame them.
And they want that money back because that's an investment.
Yes.
So, but they'll get it back in advertising. Of course, that's how they make the money back.
And wrestling's still big business. It still draws in big numbers.
It does. You look at the gate of Wrestle
But
Kingdom.
we are in for a boom. And the thing is, there is not since the late 90s, 2000s, has there been so many places for talent to work.
Yeah, it's great for them. It's great for talent.
And if the Khan family put the money into the contracts, the WWE can. If they can match the WWE, then they can promise less dates and less travel. The WWE's got someone nipping at the heels again. And we know what happens when Vince feels that.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I mean, WWE are gonna have to pull the fingers out the old out the ass, as it were, and make it interesting.
And as we've said, we know that the WWE can do it. They've done it. They've fought from behind before.
Yeah, Vince had to remortgage his house for a second or third time, where it was, to put on like WrestleMania 17 or something.
Yeah. Which he had to do 17 years earlier, just put on the first one.
Yeah.
Which in itself is amazing to think that Vince McMahon had to do that twice.
Yeah.
Just to get WrestleMania over.
But yeah, I guess it paid dividends and then became a billionaire. He's now, forever with his zebra wallpaper, as Jericho often says. He doesn't have to worry about.
The oddest the oddest thing is as well, wouldn't there? I mean, Vince McMahon, at a time where he's so hell bent on doing this XFL thing,
Yeah.
and he's pulling funds for that.
Well, actually, yeah, you play that into the whole like the Khan thing, because of course they got the Jacksonville Jaguars and they have a substantial stake in the NFL. You know, is there actually a competitive element with that as well?
It really depends on how well Vince's league, not team, league goes. I mean, to think that while other billionaires have got a team, Vince is going to have a league.
Yeah.
That is a great big fuck you to everybody else.
Hey, maybe fucking the Khan guys like have a team that goes into the league.
Exactly. It's just bizarre. But my point being is, you're going to have Vince's attention drawn to this. But how can he look away when you've got All Elite coming with money? And I mean substantial money. And then you've got Ring of Honor, who is US's number 2 right now.
Yeah.
How long for, though? And you've got New Japan's expansion into the US. I mean,
if you're a
New
fan,
Japan have
you have to watch
exactly New Japan's not exactly some 2-bit show running like tiny arenas. They're running the Tokyo Dome on the regular.
And the Madison Square Garden.
I know, and that's another punch in the eye. Ring of Honor and New Japan working together to run MSG on WrestleMania weekend. That's Vince has got competition coming everywhere.
I bet he relishes it. I bet he loves it.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Because even Jericho himself says that crazy old bastard loves it when like he's got someone nipping at his heels. When it's all quiet and content, we've seen what happens.
Well, yeah, he had to make his own competition. He had to separate Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
He had to control his own wrestling league. That's what he did.
Exactly. But yet we know that we have it in them to still do this. Because even if the main roster looks a bit pants, NXT, it is so hard to touch NXT.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what company you are. NXT is damn near untouchable. They run nearly perfect shows. I mean, their TV shows are good. And this is developmental teams.
Yeah.
These, you've got the indie guys on there, and then you've got the Bianca Belairs.
Yeah, you got a mixture.
Who, by the way, is a star. She is a star.
Absolutely.
Good on her for getting this title shot against Shayna Baszler at TakeOver Phoenix.
Well, you've had people come in like, Kenta coming in, and you got talent who'd made their name elsewhere, like Kevin Steen and the guys like Tyler Black and Seth Rollins, of course. They're not new. They've been around for a while. Bobby Roode.
Yeah.
That's a good
what there's one thing I really kind of feel sorry for is the guys that went, you know what, fuck this, I'm off. And just as they did that, the one happened.
Yeah.
CM Punk and Neville, they're 2 prime examples. They wanted this change. The change is here now.
Yeah, but I think they've also got the opportunity to put their foot down elsewhere. I mean, I think Pac's doing Dragon Gate, and he's wrestling Will Ospreay at Rev Pro this weekend. I think he is.
No, it gives me a warm fuzzy feeling about here.
It's right there. I'm not 100% this weekend, but I think it is. Which is great.
I know he's got a really awesome match this month, and he's got a really awesome match next month, and I can't off the top of my head remember who either of them are, but both of them are like, oh my god, that's happening. Oh yes.
Yeah.
I know Ospreay's one of them, and I can't think. I think it might be Zack Sabre.
I think you're right. I think it is Zack Sabre Jr. Which are going to play with Rev Pro then. But yeah, that's fucking awesome. So much cool stuff. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're a gaming fan, right now it's just fucking like we're at the apex of everything because everyone's worked so hard to get to this point. This boom period we're in now.
We're not the apex.
No,
we're on the precipice, not the apex, because the apex is when All Elite takes off and shit's going down. when they can really chase the WWE,
Okay, so
when New Japan really hits that accelerator, when Ring of Honor really have to fight from underneath now, and they're gonna have to.
if you were all elite and you really had an open checkbook, and you really could sign anyone from WWE, who would you take?
What if I thought to take it, Randy
Yeah.
Orton?
You think so?
Do you know why I take Randy Orton? Where else he been?
He ain't been nowhere. He hasn't competed against anyone
He
else.
he has been the WWE guy since he broke into the business. Randy Orton, and you could put him in there against anybody, and it will be an epic. Randy Orton is one of those guys that is so good, he doesn't know how good he is, but he makes it look effortless.
You know that's fair comment actually. That is.
And don't get me wrong, there are times when Randy Orton's can be a bit boring, but you take Randy Orton, the professional wrestler, you stick him in there with just about anybody on the planet in a match. Doesn't matter what company it is. Anything but other than WWE, as if like WWE wouldn't do great things with him anyway, like they haven't. Do you stick him in there with Walter,
Or Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega all day long?
You know,
I mean, I still can't believe for 1 second that Nakamura and AJ Styles have both had matches with Randy Orton, but just one,
yeah,
and both SmackDown matches. What the fuck?
TV matches given away for free.
Yeah,
But
I have these backed up on my own personal wrestling match library.
But do you think there's an opportunity for guys who aren't in the position they should be to go? You know, I'm going to take an opportunity on myself, like Cody did, and go. I'm actually going to dip my foot outside of this pool for a bit. You know, I think like perhaps someone like Tyler Breeze maybe, or somebody like, I guess Ziggler, I guess, comes up quite frequently. The Revival are clearly getting their opportunity now because they know that All Elite have been ringing them. And I think like Ty Dillinger, someone like that, you know, who sits off TV even though he's a good talent.
And that's the thing. This is the thing with a creative reboot. They have taken a lot of guys from obscurity and brought them back on TV. I mean,
Like Killian Dane.
in the final Raw of 2018, they bought him. They bought Zack Ryder on Raw just so he had a match on Raw in 2018. But they did that during the creative reboot thing.
Yeah.
And they made a point of this. And the fact that Apollo Crews won that Battle Royal, even with Finn Balor in that match, which to me it was clear it was going to be Finn Balor, and it was Crews instead.
It mixes it up, doesn't it? It really does.
It does. There has been a big mix. And it's nice. It's refreshing. I mean, they made the bold move of moving Mustafa Ali from 205 Live onto SmackDown.
That has worked amazing. That guy's going to go over like AJ perhaps is.
Yeah, and then the thing I love, the one thing I love about Mustafa Ali above anything else, there's a bunch of things, but one thing is he is of Asian descent, but that has nothing to do with Mustafa Ali.
No, his character is who he is. You know,
He is the very first Asian wrestler to not be wearing a turban or coming out as Tiger Ali Singh or being, you know, tied to the India or Pakistani culture or anything like that. He is Mustafa Ali, cruiserweight, turn heavyweight, and he's freaking awesome.
And that's an interesting point because W has always relied on its stereotypes. Even the guys like the Mexicals and before that, just if you're Mexican or you're Canadian, you literally are your stereotype because they believe that's who the audience was watching. They believe they watch stereotypes. Perhaps it's been in this last, perhaps even 5 to 10 year period, they've gone, shit, people don't want to just see stereotypes. They want to see that they don't realize that they're just people. They are people, and they're wrestlers.
Yeah, it's a fine line of using a wrestler's culture and using a stereotype.
Yeah. I guess even Jinder Mahal, he's a prime example of that. Well, he happens to look like one of those. We'll make him this Maharaja as his character, and we'll put him over. Well, he's Canadian. Just...
Exactly, and that's why the Canadians, when he was WWE champion, lapped him up. It's like, you're one of us. And the Indian fans said, but we know you're not Indian.
Yeah, but he won like some. Didn't like the Indian Prime Minister like give him some kind of like cultural reward or something? What?
I don't know, but in the end, let's face it, that tour came, and by the time that tour came, AJ Styles was champion, and Jinder Mahal, the great savior of the Far East, was jobbed to Triple H.
Yeah, he was. I guess India is the emerging market, as it's always been called. They're gonna have lots of money soon. Really?
And that's fine and all that, but you don't need to insult them.
No, just put a guy over. He might be from there, and like there was the when they did the Saudi Arabian thing, they had the 4 guys come in and they had their little spot against the other guys who were from Iran, and that apparently had like fucking the Saudi Prime Minister on the fucking phone to Vince McMahon going, fucking, there you have these guys in here. It got almost too serious.
Yeah. And the thing with they did that, and the Daivari brothers.
That's it, yeah.
They even brought back Kosovo Daivari, or Sean Daivari. They brought him back, and for that one thing, and I've never seen him again.
They got fucking death threats and shit.
And exactly, and the younger Daivari, he had so much heat on him. He's only just come back onto 205 Live.
Yeah.
Only just.
I quite like Daivari as well. He's a good talent, actually.
Which one? Older or younger?
The older one. He's one of those guys who's been everywhere as well. And, he seems to fit in quite well. Even like was in Lucha Underground, he was on Impact, he was on ROH for a bit, he was even touring over here. The guy's got some years on him, some tire.
Yeah. And that was the thing, when he was paired up with Muhammad Hassan, that character was a good idea.
Yeah. Came along at the wrong time, though.
No, it didn't. It could have done some good. It was executed poorly. And then they went down the fact that, like, nah, he's just a regular terrorist.
Yeah, he's just I hate America. But that was his gimmick, actually. His gimmick is that you Americans are so stupid, you don't realise I'm actually taking the piss out of you. By not being the stereotype that you think I am. Which is how I'm being presented.
The point being is he was angry at the Americans for being prejudiced against him because of 9/11.
Yeah, that's right.
And other such terrorist things. And then played into it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the character you came out with. That's why it backfired.
Yeah, it did. That's why it went silly.
And that's why The Undertaker literally murdered him live on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
He's probably still underneath the SmackDown stage.
It's right down there with Maven.
Bleeding from the head. Yeah. And by the way, don't talk to Maven about his wrestling career. He'll beat your ass.
Yeah. The less said, the better, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the case because he will beat you up. He does not like that time period of his life being brought back up. But I'm sure it bought him a nice car.
I'm sure it did buy him a nice car as well. He got over and got to eliminate The Undertaker, any guy's dream. But then he got like javelin into a glass cabinet in like the arena showroom. I can remember that as well. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, and then Maven did some stuff, and he was there, and then he was gone, and no one cared, and now hates that time period.
Yeah. Alright, dude, I guess that rounds up our show, guys. We've covered. This has been a true podcast. We just talked about shit. This is how we began. This is what it was all about. This is how we started. What's on our mind, what we're thinking, what our thoughts are, and I guess at the same time the excitement of being a wrestling fan at this time. It's going to be fun. 2019 is going to be, and this is what we're only 8 days into it, and already it's like, ooh, there's stuff to come.
Yeah, already 2 shows as well.
Yeah.
And there's another one this weekend. We've got NXT Blackpool Takeover.
So yeah, NXT UK, they better pull it out this one, because this has to be the show that they've been building up for now for what, 16 weeks. This one's live. It's on the it's on WWE Network. Let's see, because I guess for the guys who recorded these shows, it has actually been quite some time now, because these were pre-recorded way back when.
Yeah, poor Ed Ripley had a title reign of about 6 weeks, but actually it's been about 6 months.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to draw to a close here, guys. So we thank you for joining us here today. We've just rambled and we've had some fun. We hope you've been along for the ride, and we'll catch you next time. There's more stuff coming up on our YouTube channel and on Twitter and on Facebook, so do keep yourself informed and check out the links below. They're on the screen right now. And until then, we'll see you next time.